A female SEAL advisor? I didn't know we were running charity now. Captain Marshall Drenner stands with his arms crossed at the edge of the obstacle course, scanning the 30-plus trainees lined up in formation. His voice carries easily across the morning air, sharp enough to cut but wrapped in that false casualness officers use when they want everyone to hear, without shouting. The sun barely clears the horizon behind Naval Special Warfare Training Compound, casting long shadows across the dirt and wooden structures that have broken countless candidates before breakfast. Lieutenant Avery Cross steps into view. No fanfare, no announcement, just boots on gravel and the quiet confidence of someone who has walked through worse doorways than this. She wears standard tactical advisor attire, simple field uniform, no insignia beyond a temporary contractor badge clipped to her chest. Her hair is pulled back in a regulation bun. Her face gives nothing away. She could be anyone. That is precisely the point. Drenner lets the silence stretch just long enough for discomfort to bloom. Then he turns to address the formation, volume rising. Listen up. Command sent us a tactical advisor for the next rotation. Temporary assignment. She'll be observing training protocols, maybe offering some perspective. The pause before that last word draws scattered chuckles from the younger trainees. A few exchange glances. The kind of looks that say, "This should be entertaining." Avery stops 10 feet from Drenner. She doesn't salute. Advisors don't salute training officers unless protocol demands it. She simply nods once, a brief acknowledgement that she heard him and is choosing not to engage. Her eyes sweep the compound, taking in the tower, the range entrance, the admin building, and then return to neutral. Watching, recording, silent. "Welcome aboard," Drenner adds, still projecting to the crowd. "I'm sure you'll find our standards challenging." Another ripple of laughter. He waves a dismissive hand toward the obstacle course. "Feel free to observe. We run a tight program here. No shortcuts, no special considerations, just results." She nods again, still silent, still measuring. And that is when the first crack appears in the performance. Chief Petty Officer Nate Lang stands near the equipment shed, clipboard in hand, ostensibly checking gear inventory. He is older than most of the cadre, late 40s, with the kind of weathered face that comes from decades of salt spray and hard decisions. He has seen more rotations of SEAL training than some of these kids have seen birthdays. Right now, his attention is not on the clipboard, it is on Avery, specifically on the way she stands. Her posture is relaxed but not casual, weight slightly forward on the balls of her feet, shoulders square but not rigid, hands loose at her sides, fingers slightly curled inward, not clenched, just ready. It is a stance most people would never notice. But Lang notices. He has spent enough time in the teams to recognize muscle memory when he sees it. That is not the posture of an advisor. That is the posture of someone who has cleared rooms and held perimeters while rounds snapped overhead. He watches her breathe. 4 counts in, 4 counts hold, 4 counts out. Tactical breathing. The kind operators use to manage adrenaline before a breach or after contact. She does it so smoothly it looks like normal respiration unless you know what to watch for. Lang knows. His pen stops moving on the clipboard. His eyes narrow slightly. Then he glances at Drenner, who is still holding court for the trainees, and back at Avery. Something does not add up. But he says nothing. Not yet. Drenner dismisses the formation with a curt gesture. First evolution starts in 15. Let's move. The trainees scatter toward their prep areas, voices rising in conversation and nervous energy. Drenner turns on his heel and heads toward the command trailer without another glance at Avery. She watches him go. Then she turns toward the equipment area, movements economical, and begins a slow walk along the perimeter of the compound, observing, just like the temporary contractor badge suggests she should. Lang approaches her near the rope climb station. He does not make a show of it, just a casual drift in her direction while checking a knot on one of the anchor lines. When he speaks, his voice is low enough that only she can hear. "You need anything, ma'am? Water? Gear locker access?" She glances at him. Her expression is neutral, but there is a flicker of recognition in her eyes. Not personal recognition, they have never met, but professional recognition. She knows what he is. He knows what she is pretending not to be. The silent exchange lasts less than 2 seconds. Then she shakes her head once. "I'm fine. Thank you, Chief." Her voice is calm, controlled. No accent to place, no inflection to read. just the minimum necessary words delivered with the minimum necessary emotion. Lang nods slowly and moves on, but the look on his face suggests he will be paying closer attention from here forward. If you believe respect is earned, not given, hit that like button. Subscribe to see how she earned it the hard way. The first 2 weeks establish the pattern. Drenner assigns Avery the administrative grunt work no one wants: inventory checks, equipment cleaning, floor duty in the common areas. Tasks designed to signal her place in the hierarchy without technically violating any protocols. She completes them without comment. No complaints, no appeals to higher authority. She mops floors while candidates run drills. She counts ammunition boxes while instructors debrief live fire exercises. She becomes part of the background, a fixture no one thinks about until Drenner decides it is time for another public reminder. It happens in the mess hall during evening chow. Drenner enters with 2 of his senior instructors, trays in hand, and spots Avery sitting alone near the far wall. She has a book open next to her plate, some technical manual on small unit tactics, and appears entirely focused on her meal. Drenner makes a show of walking past her table, then stops as if struck by sudden inspiration. "Hey, advisor." His voice is loud enough to carry across the room. Conversations drop off in waves as heads turn. "Quick question, since you're here to offer perspective and all." He pauses for effect, grinning at his instructors. "What's your take on women in the teams? You think standards should stay the same, or should we adjust for physiological differences?" The room goes quiet. Every eye in the mess hall locks onto Avery. This is not a good faith question. This is a trap wrapped in plausible deniability. If she argues for equal standards, she plays into the narrative that she is unrealistic. If she suggests adjusted standards, she confirms every stereotype Drenner wants to reinforce. Either way, he wins the audience. Avery looks up from her book. She meets Drenner's gaze for 3 full seconds. Then she returns to her reading without saying a word. The silence stretches. Drenner's grin falters slightly. A few trainees shift uncomfortably. One of the instructors coughs into his fist. Finally, Drenner shrugs and moves on, muttering something about typical civilian contractor mentality. But the moment lingers. Avery has refused to play the game, and that refusal, small as it seems, has introduced uncertainty into the room. Lang, sitting 2 tables over, watches the exchange with a carefully neutral expression. When Drenner and his entourage leave, Lang finishes his meal in silence, then stands and walks past Avery's table on his way to the trash bin. As he passes, he murmurs just loud enough for her to hear. "Smart move, ma'am." She does not look up, but the corner of her mouth twitches. Not quite a smile, just acknowledgement. The escalation shifts to social terrain. Within days, an informal group chat among the younger trainees begins circulating memes. Screenshots of Avery doing inventory with captions like "Female SEAL Advisor Fail Compilation" and "When Command Sends Charity to Training." The images are crude but effective, mocking her perceived passivity, her silence, her administrative assignments. No one tags her directly. No one sends them to her phone. But everyone knows she is the target. The jokes spread through the barracks like smoke. Drenner does not participate directly. He does not have to. His initial comments set the tone, and the culture does the rest. Plausible deniability intact. If questioned, he would say he has no control over what trainees do on their personal devices. But the message is clear. Avery is an outsider, a token, and the group has permission to treat her as such. She never acknowledges the memes, never asks anyone to stop. She continues her routines, early morning runs on the beach before the sun rises, meticulous completion of every assigned task, quiet observation of training evolutions. The only visible change is that she starts carrying a small notebook, jotting down timestamps and brief notes whenever she sees something worth recording. No one asks what she is writing. Most assume it is boring contractor paperwork. Lang notices the notebook. He also notices that Avery is always positioned where she has clear sight lines to the command trailer and the main training areas. She is not just observing, she is documenting patterns, procedures, gaps. He keeps this observation to himself, but it confirms his suspicion that there is more to this temporary advisor than her badge suggests. The professional escalation begins during a physical training test. Drenner announces it at morning formation, a modified PT evaluation to ensure everyone maintains standards. The test includes standard exercises, push-ups, pull-ups, a timed run. But when Avery lines up with the cadre to participate, because advisors are encouraged to train alongside candidates when possible, Drenner adds a last-minute wrinkle. "Actually," he says, voice casual but eyes locked on Avery, "let's make this interesting. Advisor Cross, you'll do the male standard. Since you're here to advise SEALs, you should be able to meet the same benchmarks, right?" It is phrased as a question, but it is not a question. It is a challenge. The male standard requires significantly more repetitions and faster times. Avery has not trained publicly in front of the group. No one knows her baseline. Drenner is betting she will either refuse, confirming weakness, or attempt and fail, providing ammunition for further mockery. She looks at him for a long moment, then she nods once and steps to the starting line. No protest, no negotiation, just compliance. The trainees exchange glances. A few smirk. This is going to be good. The test begins. Avery completes the push-up requirement in steady rhythm. No flash, no drama, just controlled repetitions that hit depth and lockout without wasted motion. Her form is flawless, mechanical, the kind of efficiency that comes from thousands of repetitions drilled into muscle memory. She finishes 10 seconds under the time limit. A few eyebrows rise. Drenner's jaw tightens slightly, but he says nothing. Pull-ups next. She moves to the bar, grips it with a thumbless grip, another technical detail that most civilians would not know, and executes the required number without pause. No kipping, no momentum tricks. Dead hang to chin over bar, smooth descent, repeat. She drops from the bar and steps back into formation, still silent, still expressionless. The murmurs in the crowd grow quieter. The timed run is last. 3 miles on the beach. Soft sand, morning heat already building, full sun in their faces. Drenner runs with the group, setting a pace designed to push the candidates and, presumably, break the advisor. Avery stays in the middle of the pack for the first mile, then gradually drifts forward as others begin to fade. By the 2-mile mark, she is in the lead group. By 2.5, she is pulling ahead. She crosses the finish line in the top 10%. Not first, that would be too obvious, but well within the male standard. Drenner finishes 30 seconds later, breathing hard. He looks at the timer, then at Avery, then at the timer again. His expression is unreadable. Finally, he turns to the instructor holding the clipboard. "Record the times. Next evolution in 20. No acknowledgement of Avery's performance. No congratulations or critique. Just silence and dismissal. But the dynamic has shifted. The trainees who were smirking earlier are now silent. A few look thoughtful. One whispers to his buddy, "Where the hell did she train?" Lang, standing near the finish area with a stopwatch, lets a small smile cross his face. He does not write anything on his clipboard. He just watches Avery as she walks to the water station, drinks slowly, and then moves to the shade to stretch. She is not celebrating. She is not gloating. She is simply moving to the next task, professional, controlled, and very, very deliberate. That evening, Drenner pulls Avery aside after the final formation. They stand near the equipment shed, far enough from the barracks that no one can overhear. His tone is quieter now, but no less hostile. "I don't know what your angle is, but don't think one PT test changes anything. This is a SEAL training compound. We have standards, traditions. If you're here to push some agenda, you picked the wrong place." Avery meets his gaze. She does not flinch, does not blink. Just holds eye contact with the kind of calm that comes from facing worse threats than an angry officer. When she speaks, her voice is soft but clear. "I'm not here to push anything, Captain. I'm here to do my job." Drenner leans closer, lowering his voice further. "Your job is temporary. Remember that. I've seen people like you before. Contractors who think they can waltz in and tell us how to run our house. It never ends well for them." She says nothing, just waits until he finishes, then nods once and walks away. Drenner watches her go, fists clenched at his sides. He is used to intimidation working, used to people backing down or lashing out, giving him something to leverage. Avery does neither. She absorbs his hostility like a sponge and offers nothing in return. It is infuriating. And somewhere beneath the anger, it is unsettling. Later that night, Avery sits alone in the temporary quarters assigned to her. A small room in the admin building with a cot, a desk, and a locker. She opens her wallet and pulls out a photograph. 4 women in full combat gear, faces streaked with dust, standing in front of a battered Humvee somewhere in the desert. They are smiling despite the exhaustion in their eyes. One of them is Avery, younger but recognizable. Another is a woman with Drenner's jawline and sharp eyes, Sergeant Leah Drenner, dead now, 4 years gone. Avery runs her thumb across the photo, then tucks it back into the wallet. She pulls a small challenge coin from her pocket, weathered brass with a unit insignia that matches the patch on the Humvee in the photo. She turns it over in her fingers, feeling the worn edges, the serial number etched into the rim. Then she sets it on the desk and opens her laptop. The screen glows softly in the dim room. She pulls up a file labeled Investigation Drenner 2024 and begins typing notes from the day. Timestamps, observations, behavioral patterns, chain of command irregularities. She types quickly, methodically, building a case one data point at a time. On her wrist, barely visible beneath the edge of her long-sleeved undershirt, is the corner of a scar. Faint white lines radiating outward in a pattern consistent with fragmentation wounds. Old, healed, hidden. She adjusts her sleeve to cover it and continues typing. The next escalation comes 2 days later during a live fire qualification. The range is hot. Candidates moving through shooting positions, instructors monitoring safety and performance. Avery stands near the range control tower, observing. She is not scheduled to shoot. Advisors typically do not participate in live fire unless specifically requested. But Drenner has other plans. He approaches her mid-evolution, flanked by 2 instructors. Advisor Cross, since you're so interested in our standards, why don't you run a qualification? Show the candidates how it's done. His tone is light, almost friendly, but the challenge is clear. The range is already set for advanced drills, multiple targets at varying distances, moving positions, strict time limits. It is designed to test experienced shooters, not civilians. Avery glances at the range, then back at Drenner. I'm not authorized for live fire without prior clearance. Drenner waves a hand dismissively. Consider this clearance. I'm the range OIC. I'm authorizing it unless you're not comfortable with weapons. The last sentence is delivered with just enough edge to make it clear. Refusal will be interpreted as incompetence. She holds his gaze for 3 seconds. Then she nods. Understood. The range safety officer, a staff sergeant who has been watching this exchange with growing discomfort, hands her eye and ear protection. Avery takes them, then walks to the armory window and signs out an M4 carbine. She performs a functions check with smooth, practiced motions. Press check, safety check, trigger pull, magazine seating. Every movement is precise, no wasted motion, no hesitation. The range officer blinks. That functions check was faster than most of his instructors performed them. Avery moves to the first shooting position. The targets are steel silhouettes at 25, 50, and 100 yards. The drill requires engaging all targets in sequence, transitioning between positions, reloading on the move. She settles into stance, feet shoulder width, weight forward, rifle tucked tight, and waits for the buzzer. When it sounds, she moves. The first 3 rounds hit center mass on the close target before most observers register she has started firing. Transition. 2 rounds on the 50-yard steel. The pings echo across the range. Movement to the next position. Magazine change executed without looking down. Weapon up and firing again before her second foot plants. 3 more hits. Final position. The 100-yard target. She takes a breath. 4 counts in, 4 counts out, and squeezes. 3 rounds. 3 hits. The buzzer marks her time. 12 seconds under the standard. The range goes silent. Even the candidates who were preparing for their own runs have stopped to watch. Avery safes the weapon, performs a brass check, and walks it back to the armory window. She hands it over, signs the log, and returns her protection gear. Then she walks back to her observation position without a word. No showboating, no commentary, just back to work. Drenner stands frozen near the control tower. His face is flushed. One of the instructors beside him mutters, "Where the hell did she learn to shoot like that?" Lang, standing nearby with his ever-present clipboard, finally speaks up. His voice is calm but carries authority. "Captain, I think we should have a word about range protocols. Putting an untested shooter on a hot range without proper briefing is a safety violation." Drenner turns on him, ready to snap, but Lang's expression stops him. The chief is not challenging his authority. He is giving him an out, a way to reframe this incident before it becomes a bigger problem. Drenner takes the lifeline. "Right, good catch, Chief. Make a note. We'll review procedures." He turns on his heel and walks away, leaving the instructors to clean up the awkwardness. Lang watches him go, then glances at Avery. She is standing quietly, arms crossed, observing the next candidate as if nothing unusual just happened. But Lang notices something he missed before. When she performed the magazine change, her grip was not standard civilian training. It was tactical reload muscle memory, the kind you drill until it becomes instinct, the kind you learn in units that operate where reloading slowly means dying quickly. He makes a mental note, another piece of the puzzle, but still, he says nothing. That night, the group chat explodes with speculation. Screenshots of Avery's range time circulate. Comments range from disbelief to grudging respect to outright hostility. "She's probably prior service," one trainee writes. "Nah, she's a contractor," another replies. They teach that stuff in private security. The consensus settles on lucky or specialized training somewhere. No one seriously considers that she might be anything more than her badge suggests. After all, if she were military, she would have rank insignia. If she were special operations, she would not be here as a contractor. The logic is circular and comforting. Drenner does not comment on the group chat, but that night he pulls up Avery's personnel file on his office computer. It is sparse. Standard contractor background check. Prior employment listed as private security consulting. Education section vague, relevant certifications. No military service listed. No flag or note suggesting she is anything other than exactly what her badge says. He closes the file, frustration gnawing at him. Something does not fit, but the paperwork gives him nothing actionable. He opens a separate folder, older, password protected. Mission reports from 4 years ago. Syria. Operation Sandpiper. The names are redacted in places, but the narrative is burned into his memory. 4 female service members killed. Catastrophic intelligence failure. Air support denied. His sister Leah died trying to evacuate a wounded teammate under fire. The official report called it unforeseen enemy contact. Drenner knows better. He was the one who signed off on the mission parameters. He was the one who approved cutting the air support request to save budget and keep the op off certain congressional radars. He made a call, people died. And the only survivor, whose name is redacted in the file, walked away with a commendation and a career. He has hated that survivor every day since, even though he never learned the name. He stares at the screen for a long time. Then he closes the folder and shuts down the computer. Whatever doubts he has about Avery Cross, whatever discomfort her competence creates, he buries beneath the weight of his anger. She is a reminder, a proxy, and he will make sure she understands that women do not belong in his world. The escalation continues. Over the next week, Drenner finds increasingly creative ways to undermine Avery without technically violating regs. He assigns her to equipment maintenance during key training evolutions, ensuring she misses observations she might otherwise document. He schedules mandatory briefings at times that conflict with her admin duties, then criticizes her for incomplete paperwork. He spreads the word among instructors that her contract is temporary and her input should be taken with a grain of salt. The culture of dismissal deepens. Avery becomes less a person and more a punchline. But she adapts. She starts arriving earlier and staying later, completing tasks before or after Drenner can interfere. She builds rapport with the junior cadre, not through conversation, which she still keeps minimal, but through reliability. When someone needs extra hands for a safety check, she is there. When a piece of gear malfunctions, she knows how to fix it. Slowly, quietly, she becomes indispensable in small ways that are hard to attack directly. Lang watches this with growing interest. One afternoon, he finds her in the equipment shed organizing rappel lines. He leans against the doorframe, arms crossed. "You know," he says conversationally, "most contractors don't stay this long. They usually find a reason to cut the assignment short." Avery glances up, coiling a rope with practiced efficiency. "I finish what I start, Chief." Lang nods slowly. "I've noticed." He pauses, weighing his next words. "I've also noticed you know your way around this gear better than some of my instructors. That's unusual for a security contractor." She ties off the rope and sets it on the shelf. "I've been around." "Yeah." Lang's tone is thoughtful. "I'm starting to think you've been around more than your file suggests." He lets that hang in the air, watching her reaction. She does not flinch, does not deny, just meets his eyes with that same calm, unreadable expression. After a moment, Lang pushes off the door frame. "Anyway, keep up the good work, ma'am. Let me know if you need anything." He walks away, leaving Avery alone with her thoughts. She finishes organizing the equipment, then steps outside. The sun is setting, casting orange light across the compound. She watches a group of trainees running drills in the distance, their shouts and laughter carrying on the evening breeze. For a moment, her expression softens, just a flicker of something that might be nostalgia or pain or both. Then it is gone, and the mask is back in place. What do you think will happen when he gives that order? Drop your guess in the comments. The final escalation begins with a memo. Drenner drafts a formal document titled Concerns Regarding Temporary Advisor Qualifications and submits it to the command chain. The language is carefully neutral, expressing doubts about Avery's background, questioning whether her contract was properly vetted, suggesting that her presence may be a distraction to training. He frames it as a professional concern, not a personal attack. The memo goes up to the battalion command level. 3 days later, a response comes down. The contract is reviewed and deemed appropriate. Avery Cross is cleared to continue her assignment. No further action required. The response is polite but firm, a bureaucratic brush-off. Drenner reads it twice, then crumples the printout and throws it in the trash. He has played by the rules. The rules have failed him, which means it is time to stop playing. The next morning, he calls an unscheduled training evolution, hand-to-hand combat drills. The candidates assemble in the sandpit, a cleared area surrounded by tires and logs where combatives training takes place. Drenner stands at the center, instructors flanking him. Avery is there too, observing from the edge as usual. Drenner begins with a standard demonstration, walking the candidates through basic strikes and defensive positions. Then he shifts gears. Real combat is not clean, he says, voice carrying across the pit. It's not about technique, it's about will. About refusing to quit when your body tells you to stop. About taking a hit and hitting back harder. He looks directly at Avery. Some people think that can be taught in a classroom, or simulated in a safe environment. But the only way to really know if someone is combat ready is to test them under pressure. The air in the pit changes. The candidates sense something is about to happen. Avery stands still, arms at her sides, watching Drenner with that same unreadable expression. He smiles, not friendly, but predatory. Advisor Cross, since you've been observing our training so closely, why don't you join us for a practical demonstration? Show the candidates what you've learned. It is not a request. It is a setup. The candidates know it. The instructors know it. Avery knows it. But protocol demands she comply unless she has a specific reason to refuse. She steps forward into the pit, movements calm and deliberate. Drenner's smile widens. We'll keep it simple, he says, circling her slowly. Basic defense against an aggressive opponent. Real-world scenario. You're confronted by someone who doesn't respect your authority, someone who thinks you don't belong. What do? He signals to one of the larger trainees, a kid named Morrison, 6'2" and built like a linebacker. Morrison, you'll be the aggressor. I want you to pressure her, push her back, make her react. Morrison hesitates. Sir, That's an order, Morrison. Drenner's voice hardens. Treat her like you would any opponent in the field. No holding back. Morrison swallows and steps forward, clearly uncomfortable. Avery adjusts her stance slightly, weight shifting to the balls of her feet. Morrison throws a tentative jab. She sidesteps easily, not countering, just evading. He tries again, a little harder. She slips the punch and resets. Drenner watches, frustration building. This is not going how he planned. She is not fighting back, not giving him the confrontation he needs. Harder, Morrison! She's not made of glass! Drenner's voice cracks like a whip. Morrison, pushed by the command and peer pressure, commits to a real attack. A straight right aimed at her head. Avery moves. Not backward, but laterally and in, closing distance before Morrison can fully extend. She redirects his arm with her forearm, steps behind his lead leg, and uses his momentum to take him off balance. Morrison stumbles but does not fall. Avery releases him immediately and steps back, hands up in a non-threatening position. The pit is silent. Morrison rubs his shoulder, more surprised than hurt. Drenner's jaw tightens. Again, and this time Morrison, commit. Treat her like a real threat. Morrison looks at Avery, then at Drenner, then back at Avery. He does not want to do this, but orders are orders. He comes in harder, trying a combination, jab, cross, attempted clinch. Avery deflects the strikes with minimal movement, steps inside his clinch attempt, and executes a wrist lock that forces Morrison to his knees. She holds it for 1 second, just long enough to establish control, then releases and steps back again. Morrison stands up, breathing hard, respect and confusion written across his face. Drenner is no longer smiling. Fine. If Morrison won't give you a real challenge, let's up the ante. He turns to the formation. Cole, get in here. Ensign Cole Braddock steps forward. He is younger than Morrison, leaner, but his eyes are sharper. He moves like someone who is trained seriously. Avery recognizes the type. Competitive background, probably high school wrestling or martial arts. He will be faster than Morrison, more technical. Drenner knows this. That is why he called Cole. Cole enters the pit. He does not attack immediately. He circles, looking for openings, respecting what he just saw her do to Morrison. Drenner's voice cuts through the tension. Cole, I want you to test her. Really test her. Show these candidates what happens when someone talks a big game but can't back it up. Cole nods slowly. Then he moves. Fast. A faint high, drop low for a takedown. Avery sprawls, hips back, hands on his shoulders to stuff the attempt. Cole adjusts, trying to circle behind. She pivots with him, maintaining position. They grapple for 5 seconds. Technical, controlled, no wild swinging, and then Avery executes a smooth hip throw that puts Cole flat on his back. She does not follow him to the ground, just steps back and resets. Cole gets up, slightly winded but unhurt. He nods at her, one competitor acknowledging another. Drenner's face is flush now. This is not working. She is not breaking, not losing, not giving him the spectacle he needs to justify removing her. His frustration boils over into something darker. Enough dancing, Drenner says, voice low and dangerous. He steps into the pit himself. The candidates exchange worried glances. This has gone off script. Instructors do not usually spar with contractors, especially not with this kind of energy. You think you're tough, advisor? Let's see how you handle real pressure. Avery stands her ground, but her breathing shifts. 4 counts in, 4 counts out. Tactical breathing. Preparing. Drenner closes distance, not attacking yet, just invading her space. You come into my compound, you disrespect my authority, you undermine my training program. Who the hell do you think you are? She does not answer, just watches him, calculating, waiting. Drenner takes another step closer. He is 6 inches taller, 50 pounds heavier. If this turns physical, the optics will be bad for him. But he is beyond caring. Say something. Defend yourself. Or are you just another paper warrior hiding behind regulations? Still silence. Still that infuriating calm. Drenner's hands clench into fists. The entire compound seems to hold its breath. And then, from the edge of the pit, Chief Lang's voice cuts through the tension. Captain, sir, I think we've demonstrated enough for today. Safety protocols require we keep training evolutions within approved parameters. It is an intervention dressed as procedure, a lifeline. Drenner tears his gaze away from Avery and looks at Lang. The chief's expression is carefully neutral, but his eyes carry a warning. Drenner is about to cross a line he cannot uncross. The captain takes a breath, forces his hands to unclench, and steps back. Right, good point, Chief. He turns to the formation, voice tight but controlled. Fall out. Next evolution in 30 minutes. The candidates scatter, voices rising in urgent whispers. Drenner walks away without looking at Avery. She stands alone in the pit for a moment, then climbs out and moves toward the water station. Her movements are steady, but if you look closely, her hands are trembling slightly. Not from fear, from adrenaline held in check. She drinks slowly, letting her system settle, then walks back toward the admin building. Lang catches up with her halfway there. That was close, ma'am. She glances at him. He's escalating. Yeah, Lang keeps pace beside her. Question is, why? What's he so afraid of that he's willing to risk his career going after a contractor? Avery does not answer immediately. When she does, her voice is soft. Fear makes people dangerous, Chief. Especially when they're afraid of the truth. Lang stops walking. He lets that statement settle, then nods slowly. You're not just a contractor, are you? She meets his eyes. For the first time, there is something in her expression that is not neutrality, not quite trust, but acknowledgement. I finish what I start, Chief. That's all you need to know. She walks away, leaving Lang standing in the fading afternoon light. He watches her go, pieces clicking into place in his mind. The stance, the breathing, the shooting, the combatives. The way she moves through this compound like someone cataloging everything for a report. She is not here to advise. She is here to investigate. And if that is true, then Drenner has been making mistakes in front of exactly the wrong person. That night, Drenner sits in his office, door closed, lights dimmed. He pulls up Avery's file again, stares at the bland contractor profile. Something is wrong. He can feel it. But the paperwork gives him nothing. He closes the file and opens another window, access logs for the compound's secure network. He runs a search for unusual activity. At first, nothing. Then he narrows the parameters. Access attempts to archived mission reports. Queries about personnel assigned to Operation Sandpiper. A chill runs down his spine. He cross-references the timestamps. Most of the queries are coming from an IP address assigned to the admin building, where temporary contractors are housed. He pulls up the user log. Access code, LT ACross Temp 01. Lieutenant Avery Cross. He stares at the screen. The title Lieutenant is buried in the system username, invisible unless you know to look for it. Contractors do not have rank. Officers do. His hands shake as he digs deeper. He bypasses standard security, using admin credentials he is not supposed to have, and pulls the full personnel file, the one behind the contractor facade. The screen loads. And there it is. Full name, Lieutenant Avery Cross, Service Branch, United States Navy. Current assignment, JSOC Internal Investigation Division. Status, active duty. Mission, investigate training, fatality incident, and associated command decisions related to Operation Sandpiper, circa 2021. The room spins. She is not a contractor. She is a JSOC investigator. She has been undercover in his compound for 2 weeks, documenting everything he has said and done. Every insult, every procedural violation, every instance of harassment. And Operation Sandpiper, the mission that killed his sister, is under investigation, which means he is under investigation. He slams the laptop shut, breathing hard, mind racing. If she has been collecting evidence, then everything he has done since she arrived has been building a case against him. The public humiliation, the inappropriate training demands, the combatives' escalation, all of it recorded, all of it actionable. He stands abruptly, pacing the small office. He needs to think. Needs to figure out how to contain this before it destroys him. But part of him, the part still raw from Leah's death, does not want to contain it. Part of him wants to confront Avery Cross, drag the truth into the open, force her to answer for whatever role she played in that mission. Did she lead the team? Was she the survivor? Did she make the call that left his sister bleeding out in the sand, while helicopters that should have been there sat grounded by budget cuts and political cowardice? He stares at the closed laptop. The evidence is right there. Proof that she is not who she claims to be. But if he reveals that he knows, she will know he breached secure files. Another violation to add to the list. He is trapped, checkmated by his own actions. The only move left is to double down, to force her into a position where she has to reveal herself on his terms, where he controls the narrative. He opens the door and walks out into the night. The compound is quiet. Most personnel are asleep or off duty. He walks to the training area, mind-churning. He needs a plan. Something that will expose her, discredit her, or ideally both. Something public, something undeniable. An idea forms. Dangerous, possibly career-ending if it backfires. But he is out of options, and tomorrow he will execute it. The next morning arrives with clear skies and rising heat. Morning formation is standard, roll call, daily brief, training schedule. Drenner announces a special combative session for the afternoon. Advanced techniques, high intensity, all personnel encouraged to attend. Avery stands at the back of the formation, taking notes as usual. She does not react to the announcement, just records it and moves on. Afternoon comes. The sandpit is prepared. 30 candidates assemble, along with most of the cadre. The energy is different today. Charged, anticipatory. Word is spread that something significant is about to happen. Drenner stands at the center of the pit, commanding attention. Avery is there too, positioned near the equipment shed, observing. Drenner begins with a speech. Combat is not just physical, it is psychological. You need to know how your enemy thinks, how they react under pressure, whether they have the will to fight when everything is on the line. He paces, building to something. Some people look tough, talk tough, but when it counts, they fold. That's why we test. That's why we push. Because out there, he gestures vaguely toward the world beyond the compound, no one cares about your feelings. They care whether you can do the job. He turns, eyes locking onto Avery. Advisor Cross has been observing us for weeks, watching how we train, taking notes, judging our methods. I think it's time she demonstrated what she's been teaching us with all that silent observation. The pit goes quiet. Cole, front and center. Ensign Braddock steps forward, confusion and dread warring on his face. Drenner claps him on the shoulder. Cole, you're going to help me with a demonstration. I want you to test Advisor Cross's combat readiness. Specifically, I want you to throw a punch, full commitment, right at her jaw. The words hit like a thunderclap. Cole's eyes widen. Sir, I can't. That's an order, Ensign. Drenner's voice is iron. Punch her in the jaw. Let's see if she's really as capable as she pretends to be, or if she's just another civilian who thinks she understands violence because she read about it in a manual. The compound freezes. Every person watching understands what is happening. This is not training. This is humiliation. This is assault, dressed as instruction. Cole looks at Avery, horror written across his face. She stands perfectly still, expression unreadable, waiting. Drenner raises his voice, addressing the crowd now. What's the matter, Cole? You afraid to hit a woman? Newsflash, the enemy doesn't care about gender. If Advisor Cross wants to play in our world, she needs to prove she can handle it. So do your job. Punch her in the jaw. The silence is absolute. Cole's hands tremble. He does not want to do this. Every instinct tells him it is wrong. But the pressure, the order, the crowd, the expectation crushes down on him. He raises his fist slowly, looks at Avery one more time, and the world goes black. 3 seconds. That is all it takes. Cole's fist moves forward, reluctant but committed, aimed at Avery's jaw. She does not flinch, does not close her eyes. She watches the punch come with the same calm focus she has maintained for 2 weeks. Then she moves. Her left hand intercepts Cole's wrist mid-strike, redirecting the momentum away from her face. Simultaneously, her right hand comes up under his elbow, applying pressure to the joint. The combination forces Cole's arm into an unnatural angle. She steps inside his stance, using his forward momentum against him, and executes a textbook wrist lock that drops him to one knee in less than a second. Cole gasps, more from surprise than pain. She holds the lock for exactly 1 heartbeat, long enough to establish control, then releases him and steps back. Cole stumbles to his feet, rubbing his wrist, eyes wide with shock and respect. The crowd erupts in murmurs. Avery's expression has not changed. She simply resets her stance, hands loose at her sides, breathing steady, 4 counts in, 4 counts out. Drenner's face goes from shock to fury. What the hell do you think you're doing? That was assault on a... Self-defense, Avery says quietly. Her voice cuts through his bluster like a blade. He threw a punch. I defended myself. Minimal necessary force. Standard protocol. She looks at Cole. Are you injured, Ensign? Cole shakes his head quickly. No, ma'am, I'm fine. Good. She turns back to Drenner. Demonstration complete, Captain? The compound has gone silent. Every person watching understands what just happened. Drenner ordered an assault disguised as training. Avery defended herself with precisely calibrated force. No escalation, no retaliation, just professional, controlled response. The kind of response that comes from deep training. The kind that raises questions about who this woman really is. Drenner steps forward, voice rising. You're done here, Advisor. I'm filing a report. Assault on military personnel, insubordination, conduct unbecoming. Captain. Chief Lang's voice cuts across the pit. He steps forward, moving between Drenner and Avery. With respect, sir, you ordered Ensign Braddock to strike a civilian contractor. That's a violation of Article 92. Failure to obey lawful orders doesn't apply when the order itself is unlawful. He glances at the 30 witnesses surrounding the pit. We all heard it. We all saw it. Drenner's face flushes deep red. He looks around at the faces watching him. Some sympathetic, some uncertain, many quietly horrified. He has miscalculated, badly. He turns back to Avery, searching for something, anything to regain control. But she just stands there, silent and immovable, like a boulder in a river of his rage. Finally, he points at her. This isn't over. He storms out of the pit, leaving shocked silence in his wake. The candidates slowly disperse, voices rising in urgent conversation. Cole approaches Avery cautiously. Ma'am, I'm sorry. I didn't want to. She raises a hand, stopping him. You followed orders, Ensign. That's what you're trained to do. But remember this moment. Remember what it felt like to be asked to do something that felt wrong. That instinct matters. She holds his gaze. Never lose it. Cole nods slowly, something shifting behind his eyes. Understanding, maybe the beginning of wisdom. He steps back and rejoins his unit. Lang waits until the pit clears, then approaches Avery. That was a masterclass in restraint, ma'am. Most people would have put him down hard after what he pulled. Most people aren't here to investigate him, Avery says quietly, so only Lang can hear. The chief's eyes widen slightly. She meets his gaze. You already knew. Suspected. Lang glances toward the command building where Drenner disappeared. How bad is it? Bad enough that he's about to make it worse. Avery adjusts her sleeve, the motion deliberate, revealing just a sliver of scarring on her forearm before covering it again. Lang catches the glimpse. His expression shifts. Recognition. The pattern of those scars tells a story. i.e. defragmentation, combat wounds. She is not just investigating Drenner. She was there. Whatever happened 4 years ago in Syria, she lived it. What do you need from me? Lang asks simply. Keep Cole safe, and watch Drenner tonight. He's going to do something desperate. She turns to leave, then pauses. Thank you for the intervention, Chief. Good timing. Just following safety protocols, ma'am. Lang's tone is dry, almost amused. Avery allows herself the ghost of a smile, then walks toward the admin building. Behind her, Lang watches thoughtfully, then pulls out his phone and makes a quiet call. Night falls over the compound. Most personnel are in the barracks or off-site, enjoying the evening. Drenner sits alone in his office, door locked, lights low. His laptop screen glows in the darkness, casting harsh shadows across his face. He has been staring at the same file for 20 minutes. Avery Cross, JSOC Internal Investigation Division, Operation Sandpiper. The words swim in his vision, each one a nail in the coffin of his career. He closes the file and opens another window, his personal archive, photos from 4 years ago. Leah in her gear, grinning despite the desert heat. Leah with her unit, faces young and confident. Leah's memorial service, folded flag, empty boots. The rage that has been simmering all day boils over. If Avery Cross was part of that mission, if she was the one who survived while Leah died, then she has no right to judge him, no right to investigate, no right to be here. He stands abruptly, chair scraping back. He needs answers, now. He exits his office and crosses the compound toward the admin building. His footsteps are loud in the quiet night. He reaches the temporary quarters section and pounds on Avery's door. No answer. He pounds again. Open up, Cross, we need to talk. The door opens. Avery stands there in PT gear, hair down, face calm. Captain, it's 2200 hours. This can wait until morning. No, it can't. Drenner pushes past her into the small room. She does not try to stop him, just closes the door quietly and turns to face him. He spins on her, voice shaking with barely controlled fury. I know who you are. I know why you're really here. JSOC investigator, Operation Sandpiper, you were there, weren't you? You led that mission. My sister died because of you. Avery's expression does not change. She walks calmly to her desk and opens her laptop. A few keystrokes and a document appears on screen. She turns it toward Drenner. Your sister didn't die because of me, Captain. She died trying to save me, and I've spent 4 years trying to understand why we were left without support. Drenner stares at the screen. Mission briefing. Operation Sandpiper. Objective, extract high-value target from Syrian compound. Team composition, 4 female operators inserted for low-visibility approach. Air support, requested, approved, then rescinded 16 hours before mission launch. Rescind authorization. Captain M. Drenner, Logistics Command. His legs nearly give out. You're lying. I didn't... You cut the air support. Avery's voice is soft but relentless. You were under pressure to reduce costs, to keep the operation off certain oversight radars. So you signed off on a support cancellation, thinking we could manage without it. We couldn't. She pulls up another file. Contact log. We called for extract when the situation deteriorated. Helicopters were 40 minutes out. Leah held a position to cover our withdrawal. She took fire protecting me while I tried to reach the LZ with 2 wounded teammates. The screen shows radio transcripts, desperate calls for support, time stamps showing the delay. And then, at the bottom, casualty report. Sergeant Leah Drenner, KIA. 3 others, KIA. 1 survivor, Lieutenant Avery Cross, severely wounded, evacuated after 47 minutes under fire. Drenner sinks into the chair by the desk. His hands are shaking. I didn't know. They told me it was a low-risk op, that you had ground support. I didn't know. You didn't check. Avery sits on the edge of her cot, facing him. You made a call based on incomplete information and political pressure. 4 women died. I survived because your sister broke protocol and stayed behind when she should have withdrawn. She saved my life, and I've carried that weight every day since. Silence fills the room, heavy, suffocating. Finally, Drenner looks up at her, eyes red. So, you came here for revenge, to destroy me the way I destroyed your team. No. Avery leans forward, elbows on her knees. I came here to find the truth. If you knew who I was from day one, you would have buried everything, hidden the evidence, protected yourself. I needed you to feel safe, safe enough to show me exactly who you've become since Leah died. She gestures to the laptop. Every insult, every protocol violation, every moment you tried to break me in front of your team, I documented it all. Not because I wanted revenge, but because the people under your command deserve better. Leah deserved better. Drenner stares at her. I wore your contempt like armor, she continues quietly, so you would feel comfortable showing me the rot underneath. You don't hate women in the military, Captain. You hate yourself for what you did, for what you can't undo, and you've been taking it out on anyone who reminds you of that failure. He opens his mouth, closes it. No words come, because she is right. Every cruel comment, every impossible standard, every public humiliation. It was never about Avery Cross. It was about the guilt he could not face, the grief he could not process, the sister he could not save, and now it has all come due. All. Avery stands and pulls something from her locker, a small challenge coin, brass and worn. She sets it on the desk between them. Leah gave me this, right before the mission. She said it was for luck. I've carried it every day since she died. I'm not here to punish you, Captain. I'm here to make sure what happened to us doesn't happen to anyone else. Drenner picks up the coin with trembling fingers. He recognizes it. Their family coin, the one their father gave Leah when she graduated BUD/S. He turns it over, sees the inscription, Courage is not the absence of fear. Tears blur his vision. He sets the coin down and stands. What happens now? That depends on you. Avery crosses her arms. You can fight this, bury yourself deeper, or you can do what Leah would have done. Own your mistakes. Help me fix the system that let this happen. Be better. He looks at her for a long moment. Then he nods slowly and walks to the door. Before leaving, he turns back. I'm sorry for all of it. It doesn't fix anything, but I'm sorry. The door closes behind him. Avery stands alone in the quiet room, breathing carefully. 4 counts in, 4 counts out. Then she sits at her laptop and begins typing the final section of her report. 5 days later, the compound receives urgent orders. Operational deployment, Syria, high-priority rescue mission. 2 American contractors taken hostage by insurgent group. Time-sensitive intelligence suggests narrow extraction window. All available SEAL personnel are activated. Drenner, despite the pending investigation, is included. His operational experience outweighs the administrative concerns for the moment. Avery receives a separate communication, encrypted, brief. Your presence requested for mission support, combat advisory role, authorization, JSOC command. She reads it twice, then accepts. 12 hours later, she is on a transport plane with Drenner's unit, heading into the night. The brief is tense. Target compound in contested territory. 2 hostages confirmed alive. Hostile forces estimated at 12 to 15 fighters. Mission timeline 30 minutes from insertion to extraction. Any longer, and reinforcements will cut off escape routes. The plan is textbook. Infiltrate, locate hostages, extract, withdraw to LZ. Simple on paper. Never simple in execution. Drenner runs the brief with professional precision. He does not look at Avery during the planning, but he does not exclude her either. She is simply another asset on the board. When someone asks about her role, he says flatly, advisory. She's seen this terrain before. Use her knowledge. No elaboration, no drama, just mission focus. They insert 2 clicks from the target, darkness and dust. The unit moves in tactical column, weapons ready, night vision painting the world in shades of green. Avery moves with them, no weapon but her observations sharp. She recognizes landmarks from years ago. Different mission, same brutal landscape. Cole is on point, proving himself after the compound incident. Lang runs communications. Drenner leads from the middle, making calls, keeping formation tight. They reach the compound. Infrared scans confirm heat signatures. Hostages in the northwest corner. Guards scattered. Drenner signals the breach. The door goes down with controlled explosive charge. Immediate entry. Rooms cleared with brutal efficiency. Avery follows behind the assault element, eyes scanning for secondary threats. Exits, traps. They locate the hostages. 2 men, bruised but mobile. Extract team secures them and begins movement toward the LZ. That is when the situation breaks. Distant engine noise, vehicles, multiple. The intelligence was wrong. Reinforcements were closer than estimated. Drenner makes the call. Double time to LZ, go, go, go. The unit moves fast, too fast for stealth. The hostages struggle to keep pace. Avery drops back to assist one of them, an older man limping badly. She gets under his shoulder, half carrying him. Behind them, headlights pierce the darkness. Shouts in Arabic. Weapons fire. Rounds snap overhead. The unit returns fire, fighting withdrawal, discipline holding against chaos. They reach the LZ. The helicopter is inbound 30 seconds out, but the vehicles are closing. Drenner directs his team to set a perimeter. Hold this line until extract is wheels up. He positions himself at the most exposed angle, covering the approach. More rounds incoming. Heavier. Someone has a PKM machine gun. The fire is devastating. An RPG streaks across the darkness. The explosion is close, too close. Drenner's position takes the brunt. Blast wave, fragmentation, dust and fire. When the smoke clears, he is down, half buried in rubble. Blood, lots of it. His radio crackles with urgent calls. Captain's hit, we need— Move the hostages! Lang's voice cuts through the chaos. Get them on the bird now! The extraction helicopter flares overhead, ramp down. Door gunners laying suppressive fire. The team pushes the hostages toward the bird. Cole and 2 others provide cover. But Drenner is not moving. He is conscious. Avery can see him trying to shift the rubble, pinning his legs, but he is stuck, exposed, and the enemy is advancing. Lang shouts into his radio. All personnel withdraw to extract bird. 30 seconds. He looks at Drenner, calculation crossing his face. The math is brutal. Trying to recover him risks the entire team and the hostages. The call is clear. They have to leave him. Avery does not hesitate. She drops the hostage into Cole's arms and sprints back toward Drenner's position. Cole screams after her, "Ma'am, we have to go." She does not answer, just runs low and fast, rounds kicking up dirt around her. She reaches Drenner and drops beside him. His eyes are wide, blood soaking his uniform. "What are you doing? Get out of here." "Shut up and push when I lift." She grips the concrete slab, pinning his legs. Her arms are scarred and strong from years of training that never really stops. She lifts. Physics and leverage. The slab shifts. Drenner screams, pushing with his one good leg. The slab moves enough for her to drag him clear. She gets him upright, more carries than supports, and starts moving toward the LZ. 3 insurgents appear from the compound, close. Too close, time slows. Avery sees them, sees their weapons coming up. No time to run, no time to dodge, only time to act. She releases Drenner. He collapses but is in cover and turns to face the threat. The first fighter commits to a rifle strike. She deflects the barrel with a wrist lock, stepping inside his guard, elbow strike to the temple. He drops. The second tries to circle. She pivots, using a hip turn to redirect his momentum into the third fighter. They tangle. She executes a shoulder check that drives the second man into the wall. Off balance. Stunned. The third raises his weapon. She is faster. Foot sweep. He goes down hard. She disarms him with a controlled takedown that puts him face first in the dirt. All 3 neutralized in under 6 seconds. Not killed, just stopped. Minimal necessary force. She returns to Drenner, hauls him up again, and moves. Cole has circled back, providing cover fire. Together they drag the captain toward the helicopter. Rounds everywhere. Lang is screaming into the radio. "We have him! We have him! Dust off now!" They reach the ramp. Hands grab Drenner, pulling him aboard. Avery tumbles in after him. Cole makes it in. Lang is last, firing backward as the helicopter lifts. Rounds ping off the fuselage. The door gunner unleashes hell. Then they are climbing, fast and steep, rotors screaming. Below, the LZ shrinks into darkness. They made it. Inside the helicopter, medics work on Drenner. His injuries are severe but not fatal. Avery sits against the bulkhead, breathing hard. Her hands shake now. Adrenaline crash. Cole drops beside her, also shaking. "That was insane. You're insane. You saved his life." Avery does not respond immediately, just breathes. 4 counts in, 4 counts out. Finally, she looks at Cole. "He's still one of ours. That doesn't change because he made mistakes." That's what Leah understood. That's what I'm trying to learn. Across the cabin, Drenner watches her through pain-glazed eyes. Lang crouches beside him, holding an IV bag. "Why did she come back for me?" Drenner asks, voice barely audible over the rotors. Lang glances at Avery, then back at Drenner. "Because that's what Leah would have done, sir. And Lieutenant Cross doesn't leave people behind, not even the ones who tried to break her." Tears mix with blood on Drenner's face. He closes his eyes. The helicopter flies through the night, carrying them all towards safety. 3 days later, back at the compound, Drenner is in medical recovery. Avery submitted her full report to JSOC. The investigation findings are clear and damning. Drenner violated multiple regulations, created a hostile environment, failed in his duty to his personnel. But the report also includes Avery's recommendation: administrative discipline, not criminal charges, mandatory retraining, removal from command, but a path forward if he chooses it. The formal hearing takes place in the battalion command building. Drenner stands before the review board, 3 senior officers who have read every page of Avery's documentation. The verdict is swift. Captain Marshall Drenner is relieved of command. Formal reprimand entered in his permanent record. He will attend mandatory counseling and sensitivity training. He will not command SEALs again. But his rank is not stripped. His pension remains. He has a chance to rebuild if he wants it. When the hearing concludes, Drenner is escorted out. He stops when he sees Avery standing in the hallway. They look at each other. Finally, he steps forward. "I need to say something." She waits, silent, patient. He struggles with the words. "You could have let me die out there. You had every reason, every justification, but you came back. Why?" "Because 3 seconds of silence, Captain," Avery says quietly, "is how long it takes to listen before you destroy someone better than you. Your sister taught me that. She chose to listen when others would have judged. She chose to act when others would have withdrawn. I'm trying to honor that, even when it's hard." Drenner's shoulders shake. He stands straighter, a formal gesture, muscle memory from decades of service. Then he salutes her, a full, proper salute, held with trembling precision. "Lieutenant Cross, 3 seconds taught me more than 15 years of command. Thank you for saving my life and for trying to save my soul." Avery returns the salute. "Dismissed, Captain. Go be better." He lowers his hand and walks away, down the corridor, toward whatever comes next. Avery watches him go, expression unreadable. Then she turns and finds herself facing Cole and the rest of the unit who were present that day at the pit. They are lined up along the wall, watching. When she meets their eyes, they come to attention. One by one, a silent show of respect. No orders, no ceremony, just recognition. He tried to break her. She saved his life instead. If this story moved you, share it and hit subscribe. You won't want to miss what happens next. 2 weeks later, administrative offices. Avery submits her final documentation and prepares to return to JSOC headquarters. Lang finds her packing her gear in the temporary quarters. "So that's it? You just leave?" She looks up, a slight smile on her face. "Investigation complete, Chief. Time to move on." "What happens to the program, the changes you recommended?" "Already implemented. New oversight protocols for training instructors, anonymous reporting channels for harassment, mandatory quarterly reviews." She zips her bag. 4 more officers were implicated in the cover-up around Operation Sandpiper. They'll face their own reckonings. The system is learning, slowly. Lang nods. "And Drenner?" "That's up to him. He has the tools. Whether he uses them..." She shrugs. "Not my call anymore." "You know the candidates are calling you the Ghost, right? The contractor who turned out to be a SEAL, who took down a captain with 3 seconds and a wrist lock. You're a legend now." Avery laughs softly. "Legends are for stories, Chief. I'm just doing my job." Well, your job just made this compound a better place, for what it's worth. Lang extends his hand. She shakes it. Firm, professional, warm. He salutes. She returns it. Then she picks up her bag and walks out. The compound continues without her. Training cycles resume. New candidates arrive. Cole is promoted to instructor, his experience during the Syria mission recognized as leadership potential. The culture shifts slowly. Not perfect, not fixed, but better. The ghost's presence lingers in the conversations, in the way instructors think twice before making casual, dismissive comments, in the reminder that competence comes in forms you might not expect. But Avery is already gone, driving away from the base in a rental car. Her phone buzzes, encrypted message. She pulls over to read it. Lieutenant Cross, new assignment. Location, Fort Bragg. Subject, training irregularities, Special Forces pipeline. Report in 72 hours. One note attached to file. Unverified intelligence suggests connection to Tower 7 network. Proceed with caution. She stares at the message. Tower 7, the name Drenner whispered before he left. A network. Something bigger than one officer's failures. Something that stretches across bases, units, chains of command. A system that protects itself by sacrificing the vulnerable. Avery sets her jaw. She opens her laptop, pulls up the file, begins reading. On the screen, names, connections, patterns of abuse covered up, investigations derailed, careers destroyed to protect people in power. And at the center, one designation that keeps appearing, Tower 7. No faces yet. No identities, just a shadow network operating within the military itself. She scrolls to the bottom, finds a note from her commanding officer. This will be the most dangerous investigation of your career. Tower 7 has resources, reach, and a long memory. If you want to decline, no one will judge you. Avery closes the laptop. She pulls out Leah's challenge coin from her pocket, turns it over in her fingers. The inscription catches the light. Courage is not the absence of fear. She sets the coin on the passenger seat, starts the car, and pulls back onto the highway. In the rearview mirror, the SEAL training compound disappears. Ahead, the road stretches toward Fort Bragg, toward Tower 7, toward the next fight. And Avery Cross drives into it with the same calm determination she has carried through every mission before. Silent, deadly, unstoppable. Because justice is not loud. It is patient. And Tower 7's time is running out.
Every soldier carry a story that few ever hear. Listen with your heart. Thank you for staying and watching. Subscribe to MVB Story for more.